Om Shanti. Welcome to today's session on overcoming the fear of death. My name is Amita Shukla and I will be your MC today. So I would like to give you a brief intro about Brahma Kumaris and then share a bit about my experiences after I started meditating. So Brahma Kumaris is a worldwide spiritual movement dedicated to personal transformation and world renewal. It was founded in 1937, and since then it has spread over 110 countries in all the continents, and has had an extensive impact in many sectors as an international NGO. However, the real commitment of the organization is to help individuals transform their perspective of the world from material to spiritual. It supports the cultivation of a deep collective consciousness of peace and of the individual dignity of each soul. The spiritual headquarters of Brahma Kumaris is in Mount Abu, India. At a national level, activities are generally coordinated by local people in alignment with the spiritual principles of Brahma Kumaris, working in accordance with the laws of the land. Activities of the international interest are coordinated regionally from offices in London, Moscow, Nairobi, New York, and Sydney. So I would also like to thank Brother Girish and Sister Swati, who are providing the technical assistance in organizing this event. They are doing all the recording and all the other assistance which is needed. Having said this, I would like to welcome Sister Kanishka and Brother Shwetang. I have known them for about 4 or 5 years, but then I came more in touch with them when I moved to North Carolina from New York, and I started attending our daily morning class and meditation sessions with them. So since then, I feel I've spiritually grown further. There's a lot of guidance I've received. Whenever, in day-to-day life, I get stuck with things and I need some guidance, I call them and they're always there for me. So with that, I would like to invite them. Brother Shwetang is cardiac anesthesiologist, and Sister Kanishta is a pediatrician and a PhD in mind-body medicine, and both have been practicing Raj Yoga for about 21 years now, and are involved in conducting meditation seminars, workshops, and retreats in different parts of the world. Welcome, Sister Kanishta and Brother Shwetang.
Thank you very much, Sister Amita, and of course, Brother Girish and Sister Swati for their technical assistance as well. And thank you, all of you, for coming on time. And I'm sure we will have a lot of fun today. As you know, the topic today that we're discussing is from Corona to Daro Na. And for those of you from Indian background, you know what the meaning of the word Daro is. Daro means fear. Dar is fear. And Na means no. So no fear. So from Corona to no fear. We are living in current times of tremendous amount of fear. We have fear of all sorts of things. On one hand, we have fear of course, contracting that disease. On the other hand, we know that a lot of patients are dying because of coronavirus. So there is fear of death. But also then there is fear of what will happen to the economy and the job market, and some of us are still having to deal with the immigration issues and with other things of family, which is family which probably is in a different continent where intercontinental travel has been so much disrupted. Things are in a chaos, so there's fear everywhere. But we are going to discuss how to really take care of all the fear. But most importantly, the fear that we will be discussing in the next few sessions, I'm sure in this session we won't be able to totally take care of it, yeah, complete it, discuss it, the fear of death. And I think that's a real fear. The reason for me to get so interested in this topic of death was because some 20, 21 years back, just before I came to the Brahma Kumaris, I was in medical school, and I used to see a lot of people dying, and we were in one of the not so affluent places on the planet, and it was a government hospital where we were doing our medical school. Kanishta was there with me, and we would see a lot of people dying because of lack of medical care, really, lack of um, medicines, equipment, lack of blood sometimes, and so on and so forth. And somewhere along, initially, you don't really get the gravity of the situation. You kind of are in a euphoria kind of state because you've just gotten into medical school. But very soon, the stark reality of life starts to dawn upon you, and then eventually starts to totally overwhelm you. And that's exactly what happened with me for some reason. And also the reason was because the boys hostel, the hostel that we had where all the boys would stay, was very close to the mortuary. So every time we would be going back from medical school, from school or from the hospital to our rooms, dormitories, we would always have to pass the mortuary. And that actually, the mortuary, if you remember, it was right next to the mess and the canteen. Yeah, the canteen. And so we would be visiting that for tea, coffee, and snacks and things like that. And we would see so many people being brought to the mortuary. And every time I would see that, it was very troublesome. I remember, yeah, and it felt as if at one point almost became crippling for me. That fear, I felt the next body would be mine, or next body would be my family members, and I at some point I realized that I got to process this fear. I got to figure out a way to deal with this fear because it wasn't doing any good to me. I was not able to perform reasonably well. I mean, I was, but I found that at some point it was not helping me at all. I was finding it difficult to go to sleep every time I would see a body being brought there. And then anxiety would set in. Then the next day's performance goes down. And I realized that if I don't figure it out somehow, I will not be able to do justice to my patients, even, right? And so the journey started. And in these sessions, we would like to make it interactive. Of course, we always do it as a dialogue, and we'll be doing a dialogue today too. But we would also love to hear from you. I want to start off with a disclaimer that I am not an expert in death. But over the past 15-ish years, and especially past 7, 8 years, I've really researched into this matter quite a bit. And so I want to share with you all that I've learned about this. Yet, I know that there are a lot more things to learn. And I'm sure that you have things that to share, which maybe will change my perspective. So feel free to interrupt me, interrupt us. Feel free to ask questions. Feel free to comment. I rarely feel that to be a problem. If I need to complete a sentence or two before I respond to the question, I'll let you know. Or if there is a question which we are going to anyways talk about later, then I will let you know as well. But do not hesitate in asking questions or commenting. And especially because we have three people who will be constantly looking at the chat box. That would be Brother Girish, Sister Amita, and Sister Swati, and they will actually let us know if there is a burning question that needs to be responded to right away. But anyways, before we start, also wanted to welcome all of you who have been with us on this journey. There are many of you whom we see on a regular basis. Some of you I see as newcomers, haven't seen you before. So wonderful. We look forward to many more sessions like this. And 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 that's it, yeah, for now. All right, so before I start the dialogue, before we start the dialogue, I wanted to share with you a video, a very beautiful video, a short film actually created by an award-winning um, director and producer, and that movie itself got many awards, international awards. And that movie is about death, and but a very different perspective on death. And I'm sure you'll enjoy it. It only takes some aspects of death. It's not an end all be all video for sure, but at the same time, it at least creates thoughts, yeah, that or creates questions, in other words, yeah, for us to ponder upon. All right, so just sit back and relax and enjoy this video.
Yeah, with full attention.
Yes, thank you very much. I sincerely request all of you to sit down and really try to take the maximum benefit of this. I know some of you could be are busy and have to take care of other things, but if not, then um, eh, take the maximum benefit. In other words, all right. And so here it is. I hope you all enjoyed the movie. Yeah. And Kanishka has written some notes because some of those things that were mentioned were really profound.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kanishka, you want to share with us?
There are many powerful messages that this movie actually came up with. The first message that I have written here is names, they no longer apply. So when you leave your body, doesn't matter. Your
Not
name,
just names, the other labels which we're
Yeah.
going to talk about. Yeah,
Doesn't
all
matter.
of these things don't really apply.
Then the second was, where is God? With you always. God is always with us. It's we who forget him, but
Mhm.
he is always with us. So we need to remember. And the next was, focus on the here and now. The past and the future don't really exist. The only thing you need to be concerned about is now. And in meditation, we emphasize on this point, living in the present moment, experiencing the beauty of the present moment. Next is, everyone is free to believe in whatever God they choose to. It's just that
Your beliefs that
right now your beliefs are no longer important. Always the truth is. So these, the different names that we give to God, it's our belief, but truth is the truth is the truth. God is just one. And then next is, without forgiveness, there cannot be any heaven. The power of forgiveness. This movie was beautifully illustrated the power of love, the power of forgiveness, and the power of peace. You can't want hell for other people without being in hell for yourself. This was very powerful. That made him realize that he has to forgive. The ones who find it hardest to love need love the most. That was very powerful. Hell is the world's nightmare, not a reality. So we create our own heaven and our own hell. Then about peace, everlasting peace doesn't come from falling asleep, it comes from waking up. You were created from love for the sole purpose of love. Love neither attacks nor condemns. When you forgive those who attack and condemn you, that is when you know it's really love. So, very powerful messages from this short movie.
Yeah. So the problem with our Western lifestyle and Western philosophy in general, is that it gives us a feeling as if life is linear. It starts with birth and ends with death. And if we have not been able to achieve, accomplish all that we had hoped for, or whatever we have already accomplished, we sometimes see death as the end of it all, the culmination of all that we have collected, all that we have amassed. So there is a fear and there is pain and suffering associated with it. Whereas, which we'll be talking about later more, the ancient mystical philosophy, ancient Vedic philosophy, if you will, and the philosophy of Brahma Kumaris teaches us that life is cyclical.
Yeah, and I think the cause of fear, the other day we were discussing, the main cause of fear behind all this life and death issues is lack of true knowledge.
Yeah, it's ignorance.
Ignorance.
Yeah, I was going to come to that. Thank you for saying that. Because any fear whatsoever stems from ignorance. Once we begin to understand the truth behind that, then fear vanishes. So our goal in these sessions, in the next few sessions, including today, is to help you examine what you know, help you understand what you don't know, and then to give you a higher understanding towards life and death, so that this fear of death totally vanishes. In fact, if you go back into time and look at the lives of these ancient mystics and true ascetics, they not only understood death, they in fact embraced death. Yeah. So one is understanding death, and actually there's one more thing, accepting death. Understanding, accepting, embracing death. Yeah. At this point in our lives where we either live in a state where we deny death. We feel as if death will never happen. Death will happen to others, but will not happen to us. Yeah. Some magical way, it's going to not touch us. Yeah. That's one way of
we refrain from accepting it.
Refrain from it. One way the world looks at it in the modern scientific quote unquote world. The other way which people kind of look at it is, it will happen, it has to happen. Everybody has understood now with the kind of fragility of life that we are seeing in current times, that death is going to happen, but somehow it's going to happen in a way which I don't know, will just happen. Yeah, it'll come and we don't have to do anything about it. But that's not true at all. In fact, the only way to be able to accept and embrace death is to actually understand the dynamics of death and life itself.
Yeah. So I think we need to get the experience of how it feels like to be dead.
Sure.
Right?
So, yeah, we will work on that too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just like, I was thinking about the simple example that one gets the knowledge of how to drive the car.
Yes.
We know that, okay, there is gas pedal, there are brakes, and there are lights, and there is steering wheel. We have the knowledge that this is the inside machinery of the car.
Yeah.
But until and unless you really get inside the car and you practice it, you
Sure.
won't get the confidence of handling the car.
I totally agree. So we will
Right?
work on that,
Yeah,
but
so-
that's too early right now, right? So first thing is first to really to understand how the car works. The more we understand how the car works, the less we'll be afraid of the car,
Yeah.
right? Of driving the car, but also say if we're going into a place where maybe into nowhere, maybe Idaho or somewhere where there aren't many people living, you won't be scared if the car stalls because you know how to fix the car, right? So the more you know about the car, the more you know exactly how the car works, the more you will be free of the fear of using the car. So similarly, if we understand these dynamics of life and death, then we will be liberated from the fear of death. And the thing is, the reason why we need to liberate ourselves, as I was mentioning, that this ignorance is creating a crippling effect to people. And like for me, I found that I was not able to deliver what I'm hoping to deliver. That is, I'm not able to reach my full potential if I continue to be soaked in fear, fear of death, especially. So I inspire you all to also take this journey on with us so that you too can achieve your full potential, having figured out how to eliminate this fear of death from your life, right? And so really speaking, if I ask people, and I'm going to ask you too, there are really four. Initially I had come up with four types of fear of death, but now I've increased the number to two more. I've added two more. So there are six types of fear in regards to death. And so, does anybody have any thoughts about that? If you have fear of death, what is the reason you have fear? Would you like to share? If you want to say something, either you'll have to raise your hand. Yeah, Itala would like to say, all right, Itala, I'm going to unmute you.
Not afraid of dying, but I am afraid of dying in pain.
Yes, very good.
So
Yeah,
pain is the thing that I'm afraid.
the actual process of death. Yeah, very good. What else? Anybody else? So let me share with you. I'm going to share this on the screen. It's a new feature in Zoom called as polling. So I'm going to launch this poll. And in this, the first question says, first of all, how would you rate your overall fear towards death? So each one of you can actually click on it and we'll have results at the end of the polling. You can click on it. So with your mouse, how would you rate your overall fear towards death? Is it mild, moderate, severe, or is it crippling?
Yes, sorry to interrupt, brother. There's a one brother raised a hand. Uh, I will unmute him so he can speak.
Sure.
So it's Kalista. I'll just unmute 1 minute.
Then
I
you can go on to the next question too. Yeah, go ahead.
I raised my hand for the previous one about the fear of death, and I noticed that in the survey, I think it ties into the fear of what would happen to your loved ones after you die, but the fear of dying too soon that you don't have any accomplishments to leave behind, and that's what I am feeling.
Thank you very much. So that will add one more, huh? So that will make it 7 now. The next time I do this session, I'll say there are 7 types of fears. All right. I appreciate that. See, this is how I learn every time I do these sessions. Yeah. Has everybody had the chance to do the polling? 10. Keep going, keep going.
You can maybe read the second question.
Second question,
on
yes.
Phone also.
So yeah, they won't be able to do the polling. But so the second question is, what do you fear most about death? The actual process of dying and the pain that it will give us.
That's the first option.
That's the first one that Itala was talking about. Then fear of what would happen to loved ones after we die. Yeah. Well, will they be able to? Yeah, you can see only half of it. Yeah. Then the fear of the pain that loved ones would go. I don't know why it maybe for some reason it's not showing on yours, but it's showing to others. Yeah. It's showing here too. So the third is fear of the pain that loved ones would go through as they are in the process of dying. You see? Because we fear the pain for them. Then fear of what would happen to us if our loved ones die. Right? Then fear of afterlife. That is what lies beyond during the transition. And then now in this time of coronavirus, there are a lot of people who have had to, that we know of, had to die alone because the relatives were not allowed into the hospitals and they had to die alone. So fear of dying alone is also a very real fear for many people. So wonderful. I'm going to end the poll because some of you, do you still want more time? Have you been able to click? No? I know some of you are not able to see it for some reason. Oh, but you're not able to click it?
I'm reading it now.
Okay. Yeah, we can
Maybe we can wait for a few minutes.
Yes.
Brother, even I cannot see.
Yes, some can see, some can't, but I think majority can.
So
But that's
I
fine.
have typed in the chat box my fear.
Okay. I'll die without using all my resources in a useful manner. Yeah, that's what this brother was saying as well, right? That I haven't been able to achieve my full potential and I die. And there's somebody who has raised her hand, Jyoti, right? So let me unmute you. No, something happened. She somehow accidentally. So what my goal is, I'm going to end this poll.
So what is the result?
The result, mild intensity, many people have said that, moderate, severe. Nobody has said it as crippling. So I was the only one who had the crippling kind of fear. So you all are very courageous then, I would say. None of you has any crippling fear of death. That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. And then several people have said the highest number actual process of dying, the pain that goes with it, fear of what would happen, so on and so forth. And nobody is afraid of dying alone. Yeah, anybody? No? Fear of dying alone? None of your loved ones around you? Don't have fear of that. You're okay with dying alone. Totally alone. In the hospital. I see some I feel that too. I've been doing a lot of research into ways what I have gives back rather than leaving things behind my family won't want. I think you're just being really honest. I'm between severe and crippling, but feel that the more honest I am about fear, the less viable I am in supporting others through this. More honest. All right, that's a good thought. But wonderful. So all these are great comments. So my goal is that by the end of these series, I have helped you get rid of all of these fears, so that you are not only liberated from fear of death, but you can actually embrace death, like I was sharing earlier. So let's go through each one of these. So say let's start with the fear of seeing our loved ones die, yeah, and what would happen to us, the fear of what would happen to loved ones when we die. See, the number one thing to understand is that death, as we talk about this biological death, is inevitable. That's the ultimate truth. There is no way that we can elude that from our lives. In fact, death is as real as life itself. In fact, death is really another aspect of life itself. Death is integral to life. In fact,
It actually indicates that the life is continuing.
Yes.
It's not like life has come to a complete stop.
Correct.
But it is the continuation of the journey.
Correct. But we'll talk about that, the cyclical nature of life. But I also wanted to say that just like you have periods at the end, full stop period, exclamation mark, punctuations like this that kind of give meaning to the sentence. If you have no punctuation, one sentence would roll into the other and there would be no meaning to those sentences. Similarly, if we don't have death, it won't give meaning to life. Death provides the necessary meaning to life. Yeah. But this kind of fear about loved ones, what will happen to them when we are gone, what will happen to us when they are gone, really stems from attachment. And spirituality takes us into the depth of understanding of attachment, detachment, or preferably we talked about non-attachment, because sometimes for many people the word detachment seems heavy, but non-attachment can be an easier thing to kind of digest. So you think about it, the first and most important thing that we need to get to is understanding who we are again. Yeah, we've talked about it multiple times. When we say death, who is it that dies? What dies? And what never dies? So in other words, when I said it is the ultimate truth, but at the same time, it's the ultimate lie, ultimate falsehood. But how the paradox? Because what dies and what doesn't die? And I thought maybe you want to take this forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, brother, there is one question on the chat from Lo Shonda. So you want to take that question?
Yes, wonderful question Dashonda has is, why is death not celebrated like a new life is? That's the only thing I have not been able to understand when it comes to death. That's a beautiful question. That's what we're going to get at. The ancient cultures used to do that, and we don't, because they understood what death is, the meaning of death, and we don't. That's why we don't. And now once we begin to understand it, we too will then learn how to celebrate death, just as we celebrate new life. Yeah. All right. So great question. So you want to take this forward?
Yes.
Who dies and what dies?
Yeah. So it is important to understand the truth, reality. We live with this illusion. We are in this illusion that what we see is the reality. We see this physical body and we think that we are this physical body. But in reality, we are not what we see with our physical eyes. We are what we don't see. And that being is actually the one who is doing everything for the body. So that being is not going to perish.
Because being is energy.
Yeah, being is energy. Being is, you can call that being by various names, like the soul, the spirit, the consciousness, the life force.
Yeah.
So that being is never, never going to die. And that is the reality, that is who I am. And if I get this understanding, and not just understanding, because in many, actually, many people believe in this idea that they are souls. And they do have the knowledge that the soul is eternal, soul is immortal, soul is never going to die. These things are, they are aware of these things. But the thing is that it's very important to live with this understanding and practice it.
Yeah, in other words, that knowledge is very superficial. It hasn't kind of gone inside. Yeah, for most people.
Exactly. You are not living with this awareness that I am really that being. I am not this physical body. So it's like you have to feel it. How does it feel like when you are a soul?
Yeah.
It's not just having the knowledge that, okay, I'm a soul, but what is the feeling that you get when you are really in this awareness that I am that being?
Because that gives me the feeling of eternality.
Yeah.
Immortality, because I can never die. If I am the soul, I cannot die. Because still, when people talk about the soul and body, they feel that, yeah, I will perish, but my soul will go somewhere. But with my death, all my relationships will go away. My car, my houses, my job, my education, all that I wanted, all that I got, all that I didn't get.
So this is the attachment.
That's the attachment. Yeah. But all these things are attached to the body.
Yeah.
But I'm not the body, I'm the soul. And so body will perish, that's fine. But I, the soul, got all these. I, the soul, did all this through the body. And I, the soul, will take all the experiences of all this with me, packaged to my next lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in other words, these experiences, all that I've learned, doesn't really die away. The soul takes all this with it.
Right. And this is the reason why we say that some children, when they're born, after a few years, they have this the talent. They have not learned particular instrument or something like that, but still they're able to play maybe violin or maybe piano very beautifully, because they carried that sanskar, that we call as sanskara, or the memory or the imprint. They carried it with them. So who is the one who is carrying that impression? It is the soul, it is the being. So that talent is not gone anywhere, but it kind of it merges at that time, but then it emerges.
Yeah.
Right? So
at
it
the right time.
It stays
so
with
mathematical geniuses, you see, scientists, you see, people who have done such amazing things. All this kind of comes from somewhere,
Right.
Yeah. And so I'm sure when people think that the fear of the dying, that everything will be lost, is because they haven't really internalized this understanding that they are souls. So for a little bit, let's take a pause and really try to see yourself as a soul. Just that drop of energy that is eternal, that's immortal, that can never be cut, that can never be crushed. Yeah, because there is this very beautiful shlok in Gita, right? Is it in Gita? Na chiddanti shastrani na dahati pavakaha, right? And so that means that no sword can cut the soul, no fire can burn the soul, no water can wet it, and no air can dry it out. So the soul is...
That means it is not affected by the 5 elements of matter.
Or anything for that matter. Yeah.
So maybe take this moment to really, really feel that the power of the soul.
Yeah.
The being that you are. For a moment, just forget about this physical body. And just sit with this awareness that I am a soul, a being, concentrated form of energy.
Yeah.
It's a light energy. And the moment you connect to this beautiful point of light that you are, instantly you feel the lightness that resides in the soul. And this lightness will take away all your fear, all your anxiety. And the soul is the source of courage. The moment you connect with the soul, you are in a way coming very close to your courageous self. So remind yourself that you are a courageous soul. Say to yourself in your mind, I am a courageous soul.
Yeah. So courage and fear are two contradictory energies. Courage is positive energy and fear is negative energy. If you invoke the energy of courage, then you cannot have fear at the same time.
And this is the beauty of seeing the self, connecting with the self, because the moment you connect, you are entering into a territory that is filled with positivity.
Yeah.
And the moment you come out of this territory and go into body consciousness, thinking that I am this physical body,
Yeah.
you are going into the territory where there is only and only negative energy. Because fear is what? Fear is
Negative energy.
negative energy. So the choice is ours. Where do we want to go? We want to go in which direction?
Yeah.
In the direction of fear or in the direction of courage?
Yeah. Yeah. And because in this physical world, everything is always changing, right? Nothing remains constant.
Mm-hmm.
Everything new becomes old. Everything old becomes older. Yeah, and then perishes. Yeah, your cell phone will always get more and more outdated. Your computers are going to function less and less. You yourself, if you look at your body in the mirror, is going to have more wrinkles over time. The hair is only going to get whiter. Yeah, your teeth are only going to get weaker. Your bones are also going to get weaker. Everything is going to happen in that direction.
Yeah.
And so that's what creates fear. But as you enter into the soul aspect of your existence, the spiritual aspect of your existence, there's no change. Yeah. So everything becomes permanent. Here, everything is impermanent. Here, everything is permanent, absolute, constant. Yeah, full, complete.
And so therefore you won't lose anything. And if you don't lose anything, there is no fear.
No fear, right. So here, one aspect is to get rid of this fear, fear of death. But also, I want that by the end of this series, I want to take this into the art of dying, if that makes sense. Because if you see it, go back into history, like even in Christianity, there's this whole series of books, right? They're called as Ars Moriendi, and these books which talk about the art of dying. Yeah, and then there's this big picture um, in somewhere in Europe where they call that picture, this painting that's called as Dance Macabre. Macabre or macabre, I'm not sure how they pronounce it, but that means the dance of death, where it is shown that everybody, of different classes of society, people are standing and they're all walking towards death. And if you also go back into, say, the Indian scriptures, and there was this famous poet who said, what is that shlok? That right. You want to say that?
Yeah.
Okay. I hai to jana hai. No, I hai to jayenge. Raja Rang Fakir. So I hai to jayenge means everybody who has come onto this earth will eventually have to go. And then the next part of the first sentence is Raja Rank Fakir. Raja means king, Rank means beggar, and fakir means an ascetic. So whether it's a king, a poor person on the streets, a beggar, or it is an ascetic, everybody has to die. The next sentence says, एक सिंहासन चढ़ी चले, दूसरा बंधे जंजीर. So एक सिंहासन चढ़ी चले, एक बंधे जंजीर. So what that means is, singhasan means on throne, yeah, or a chariot. You can look at it as a chariot. And
That means with respect.
With respect, yes, with dignity and respect. And the other will go bound in chains. Yeah, so the choice really lies on us, how we leave this life, this body, and go to the next. Yeah. First of all, it is important to understand that this life doesn't end, like we had talked about. In the cycle of life, if you see, like if you see a tree, the tree starts from a seed, grows into a big tree, but before it ends, it gives out another seed that then goes into the soil, into the ground, creates a new tree, and it keeps going on. Yeah, so, and if you look at, say, the cycle of seasons, you have spring, then summer, then autumn or fall, winter, but then the spring starts again. Even if you look at, say, the day-night cycle, you have the early morning, then daytime, then evening or dusk, and then night. And then next day morning, there is new dawn again. So everything works in cycles. And truly speaking, there are 4 phases to these cycles too, yeah? Like spring, summer, fall, and winter, or dawn, morning, or dawn, day, dusk, and night. Yeah. So similarly here too, if you look at our lifetime, you could take this lifetime and divide it to 4, would be birth, yeah, childhood, maturity, old age. Yeah, and then we are reborn as a child. But also you can, if you want to look at this whole cycle, then you can see it as this life, the transition, yeah, or not even transition. Before that, the process of death, the transition beyond death to the new life, and the new life then. So everything you can divide into 4 phases, and it will always continue. So nothing, in other words, what we feel in the Western philosophy is that what we haven't achieved in this lifetime, it's end of it. Yeah, we have to cram up everything, all the achievements, all the accomplishments, we have to cram up in this lifetime. Whereas if you go into the truth of the matter, because it's cyclical, what you haven't achieved in one lifetime, you can achieve it in the next lifetime. Yeah. So for example, think of it as day. Yeah. In one day, say today, you feel you have a to-do list. You feel I have to take care of these 8 things, gardening, cooking, this, and you may not be able to achieve all of those 8 things, but you do go to sleep, right? Why? Yeah, you let go of those 2, 3 things that you were not able to accomplish, and you're ready to go to sleep.
Because at the back of the mind, there is this thing that, yes, there is tomorrow also, I can do it tomorrow.
Right, because you're tired, you want to take rest, and you say, I'm going to postpone it till tomorrow, I'll fix it tomorrow. If somebody doesn't have even that understanding, then he will try to stay awake and try to finish that job today. And he will kill himself doing that. The truth liberates him from the agony of trying to cram everything in one day and postpone it to the next day. Or whether it's, say, a week, even if you were thinking of accomplishing something in 1 week, you couldn't, you can do it in the next week, right? You know, I'll do it next week. Yeah. I wanted to finish it this week, no worries, I'll finish it next week. Or this month versus next month. Or this year versus next year. Yeah, in 2019, I could only do so much. That's fine. I have 2020. I'm going to celebrate the new year coming, and I'm going to try to do that in 2020. There are people who get stuck in the year. Yeah, some people get stuck in the days, week, month, year. They feel, oh, that's end of it. If I don't finish in 2019, it's done. But that's not true, right?
So hope and trust.
The trust, yeah.
Important.
So trust creates the hope and the feeling that yes, I can accomplish it next year. Similarly, if we are able to understand this eternal truth, yeah, this truth is very liberating, that what I cannot achieve in this lifetime, I can achieve in the next lifetime. Make sense? Any thoughts?
And this helps everyone to slow down.
Slow down, yes.
Because everyone is nowadays, instead of being, they are doing. They have
Exactly.
become machines, like machines.
I want to do more cell phones, more iPhones, more laptops, more cars, more vacations.
And also, if you are in the mode of being, then you will see yourself doing more. You become more and more efficient. You will be able to achieve a lot in less time.
So for that, I have to actually step away from doing, enter into being, and then start doing, so I can accomplish much more.
Because see, the energy with which you will then work, starting from, going into that zone, and from that zone, you're drawing energy and using that positive energy in your day-to-day activities. And when you use the positive energy, then you will get positive result, and that will give you more inspiration, more motivation. And then this is how your efficiency will keep increasing and increasing and increasing. So that is the beauty of living with this consciousness, that yes, so the shift in consciousness is important. We have to update our consciousness, just like we update cell phones every year.
Yeah, and the softwares in the cell phone every 10-15 days.
Yeah, so we need to update our consciousness that I am not this body, the physical, but I am the spiritual being. So I need to update my consciousness.
Yes, and the spiritual being has a life which is beyond this life death. So death is a pause, if you will. It's like a sleep. Just like you go to sleep, you rejuvenate yourself, you heal yourself. Death is a healing aspect, to the whole life death cycle. So during your life, you do. Death can be the time for you to be, and then you go into doing again in the next lifetime. So you can look at it in different ways, but to understand this eternal truth that life goes on despite the death happening, that I don't have to cram everything in this lifetime. Yeah. So this was very, very profound so far that we have shared, right? And so I just was thinking if anybody wants to say something or ask.
There is a question from Shonda again. So can you take that question?
Yes. So is it safe to say even though death will intervene, there's always tomorrow? Yes, exactly. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, because the being is never going to die. That's the reality.
Yeah, the tomorrow could be in a, say right now itself, you could be right now, we are in North Augusta, South Carolina. We could tomorrow be traveling and going to Texas. Then we could be going to Mexico. Who knows? I mean, like every day we could wake up in a different place. Similarly, we could be going from one lifetime to the other. So the situation, circumstances will change. But it's still tomorrow. And you're still alive. In a different form, different body, different relatives, maybe. Yeah, different looks, different color of the skin.
And change is good, right? Everyone loves change.
Yes. Then I'm not sure why. Thank you for saying that. I'm not sure why then people are so scared of this change.
Yeah, because this is change. You're going to get everything new.
I know of people who change their shoes so frequently, change their clothes so frequently, every 1 or 2 years, they will take all their clothes, go to Salvation Army or something and give, and then go and then buy a whole set of new clothes. They want change, or they want to go to vacations in these exotic places because they want change.
Yeah, and
so why not just change?
Yeah, that's why we say that this body is like a costume.
Yeah.
And you're going to get a new costume when you leave this physical body. You're going to get a new one.
Yeah.
So you're leaving just one costume and entering into another costume.
Yeah.
Or maybe you can see it as if you are going to a new home.
Yes.
You're leaving this old home and going to a new home. And everyone is so excited about going away from the old home and going into new home, and then so much excitement and so much happiness is there. So if we see that, but death is also like that, it's not really, we are not losing anything, but we are going to get so many beautiful things. We are going to get so many beautiful experiences in that new home.
Yes.
So this is very important understanding that we should always keep in our minds, that I'm not going to lose anything, but so many beautiful, just like people when they go for a vacation, they have this thing in their minds that, oh, I'm going to visit this place and that place, and we are going to have a lot of fun. So why not see death as a moment of fun?
Fun, yeah. One thing, yes,
Mhm.
actual experience of death as fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to like watch a new movie or something, right?
Mhm.
As soon as new movies come, people go onto Netflix to try to watch that. Wow, I'll be watching my death. Wow, that would be fun. But the
Yeah.
second thing is what will happen in the next birth. I could be in a different location.
Mhm.
Yeah, that will be
Yeah.
fun to see too.
So
So
be curious. What
be
am I going to
curious, yeah.
get?
There is this book by that famous British writer, fiction writer, medical writer. He was a doctor, Dr. Robin Cook. Yeah, I don't know if people have read in US. People don't read British books, but there is one book he had written which I had read about 20 years back before coming into Brahma Kumaris, and it was about this person who goes into a time capsule, and then in a time capsule he goes into future, and he goes to a place where there is a very highly evolved generation of people. And in that, so what he sees is, as he enters into that village or whatever, he sees these people preparing for a big celebration. And so he kind of tries to ask them what is going on, what is the celebration all about. And they say that there's a couple who are very old, and they're about to, today in the evening, they're going to leave their bodies and go for the next life. And so he's very amazed that these people are celebrating, and which Lashonda has asked too, why don't we celebrate? So there, it is very nicely, very vividly described how then they get all these different things to celebrate. They have music, they have dance, they have good food, they have good whatever drinks. And then the couple who is very old, and it's like 150 years old or something, but they look very young, very youthful. They don't look that as if they have any disease. And so they're ready to transition. And so at the end of the day, after the celebration is over, they transition. And they actually, in that story, it's shown as if that they have some clues, some hints as to where they'll be going eventually. Yeah, and so there is no fear. They have accomplished all that they have accomplished. And that was another one fear, right? So to be dead too early, not being able to accomplish enough. Now you think about it, if we go into that fear for a little bit, and because I want to work on each of these fears, and I hope I'm not jumping from one to the other. If I am, then stop me, all right? And you all can stop me too.
And also, before you go ahead, maybe people are leaving, so if they can leave their phone numbers for
Yeah.
future events, because many people have left, looks like that.
Yeah,
So
that
if
that
you,
guy has gone,
yeah,
right?
so many
So-
new people have gone. So if you are leaving early, so if you want, you can leave your
I think
email, phone number,
I
so
think
that you get.
they are all ones that we have. I
Yeah,
see
so
some blank names.
Kathleen,
Kathleen, we have Kathleen's, yeah. So if anybody here who is new to this and you want to be informed about other new programs, yeah, we know we have your information, Kathleen. So if others who want more information of new programs that we'll be doing in the future, please put in the chat box your phone number and your email address, and we'll keep you updated. So anyways, going into this accomplishment thing, that we always have this feeling that we um, will die without accomplishing what we want to accomplish. But when is it that we will really accomplish everything? When do you think will be the day that yes, thank you. What is that accomplishment that you're looking for? That job, when you have gotten one good job, you want the next better job, you want the next promotion, the next car. yeah, the next house, the next vacation. When do you feel that you have accomplished enough? Anybody wants to take this question? Do you really feel?
I think that I would be accomplished when my character is going to get to a level that I'm going to be happy.
Mhm.
I think she's raising her
Yeah,
hand.
good, good. Yeah, Itala, go ahead and let me unmute you.
I'm ready to transition anytime.
Right.
It's just, unfortunately, it's not up to me.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
up to God when it's going to happen.
Yes. We'll talk about that too. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to it.
Very beautiful, wonderful. But also, but say several young people would say, "Oh, I'm only 20. I haven't gotten married yet. I haven't seen. I would love to have kids. Somebody would love to have a new college degree, go get masters in something, and says, "Oh, I haven't even seen the world. I haven't traveled yet. I would like to even do all that." So when will you feel that you have accomplished enough to be able to go?
I think for a young person, it's not natural to feel like, okay, the dying's early. It's because that's untimely.
So untimely death is the truth of 20th century. Yeah. So we are going to be faced with that situation. So we'll have to come to terms with that too. Coronavirus has affected young people, or if not coronavirus, there are hundreds of things that can kill us. Shall we go into, before we go into all this, shall we go into those 4 types of deaths?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So there are really 4 types of deaths. I have shared this with another group in the past. I'm going to share with you all too. Yeah. And so the first type of death is, which we call as sudden death. Sudden death could be because of quote unquote natural causes, or because of unnatural causes. Or it could also be divided into external situations versus internal. Yeah, or self-inflicted, if you will. And so the self-inflicted one would be suicide, or even at the highest spectrum would be what is called as samadhi. Yeah, and I'll talk about that in a moment. And so let's not talk much about suicide, and if we want to, we can at another point. But things like, say, heart attacks or stroke, an artery ruptures in the brain, or an artery gets blocked in the heart, boom, end of the story. So the death would happen within few minutes to few hours, maybe a day. Yeah. Or it could also be because of homicide. Yeah. A murder, right? Or somebody trying to, comes with a gun, shoot, right? That can,
Or maybe accident.
or accident. Yeah. Car crash, something falls on the head, earthquakes happen, yeah, volcanoes can happen, so many different ways person can die. So that is, in a way, sudden death. Yeah. The second type of death is because of, say, cancer. Yeah. That a diagnosis of cancer happens, then usually, many of these cancers, you know, causes death within few months to maybe a couple of years maximum. Yeah, most cancers. So but the course in cancers is kind of always going down. Yeah, there could be days where you feel kind of better, or okay, but the course is downwards here, downhill.
Mhm.
And then the third type of death is, say, heart failure, or say liver failure, kidney failure, where death happens over years to maybe even a decade. Yeah, almost 8, 9, 10 years people can last with heart failure. So in that, the course is almost like this. You feel down, but then you feel very good at times. You feel down, then you feel good.
Mhm.
And then the fourth type of death is What do you think?
End of life?
Yeah, so yeah, you become senile, you become old, you go through senility, if you will, and then yeah, and then you maybe get dementia and so on and so forth, and you die of old age. So now, among all these four, I don't have that question in the poll, but may I ask you all to share which type of death would you
I'm looking
want?
forward.
So,
Looking forward to.
or which one would you like to have?
I want to die in my sleep.
Yeah, okay, die in your sleep. A lot
Yes.
of people have this thought. Wonderful.
No pain.
Don't want to know it.
Oh, no, it's okay if I know it because I can let people know and I can say my goodbyes. What I don't want is pain.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it would be nice to just go to sleep and never wake up.
fantastic. All right. Anybody else has any other thoughts? Hmm? Anybody would like to say here? Somebody said, yeah, yeah. Anybody wants to say anything?
Brother, there's a question from Kathleen Nohe. I want to learn how to leave my body willingly. She sent to me only privately, so that's why you can't see.
So
The
say that
question is,
again.
I want to leave. I want to learn how to leave my body willingly. That is a question from Kathleen.
Wonderful. All right. So that's a great question in itself. So yes, we talked about this. The highest form of death could be, which is called as samadhi in the ancient the scriptures. This has been kind of described very vividly, and there are people in the world, in the ancient ascetics, who have been able to accomplish that. They would um, be at some point in their lives, they would say that I have done what I intended to do, all that I was sent to do, I have taken care of, I've accomplished that, and now it is time for me to go. So they will sit, they will do their goodbyes to everybody, yeah, and then they will sit and they will leave the body. So willingly they would leave their body. So how do you achieve that kind of state? One, from a state where we are so intensely stuck in the fear of death. So we'll have to figure all these things out, yeah, one by one. So going into, again, the philosophy of all this, if say we go into the first part, fear of what would happen to loved ones after I die, after we die. Because this samadhi, if you look at it, this willing death through will, comes from the fact that you have really resolved all these complications of relationships, that you have destroyed your attachment, what's any type of attachment you have. In fact, you have reached the stage of complete non-attachment.
You're liberated.
You're liberated, yeah, and so you're able to serve, yeah. And so that state, how do we get to that state, is this understanding that everyone that you are connected to, all your relationships, you have this as a karmic relationship, that you are with that relationship to be able to serve that person in certain capacity. If you have served in that capacity, then your attachment to the soul decreases. Then you are able to liberate yourself from the pull that the soul has from that soul. But then at the same time, if you think of it, say, you many times we feel that we are responsible for other people around us. But think of it, each soul is independent, is unique. Each soul has his own spiritual journey. Just like if you look at it from a train journey, Yes, people would come on to the train at different stations, yeah, and eventually they all go their own ways. So similarly, say if we look at this lifetime, we have several people in our lives, but in this life, all these people have come, they have joined us, and then they will go their own ways. Each one has its own journey. Now, say somebody gets married to someone, yeah, and after marriage, then because of love and then living together and body consciousness that we talk about, soul consciousness versus body consciousness, in body consciousness, then attachment grows. Yeah, and the feeling that I am responsible for the life of the other person, and that other person will not be able to take care of his or her life without me. You see? But that's not true. You think about it, you met that person at the age of, say, 25, 30, yeah, and then got married. What happened before that? Those 30 years that person existed, right? And when people die, then other people don't die with them. They too exist. So there are forces of the universe which come to help each one of us. And if we go back into our lives too, the reason why I'm trying to get to this aspect of faith for today, because it's already 6:41 and we work on this faith for now. I know time flies really fast. With the faith, see, when we were born, there was somebody who fed us, somebody who took care of us, somebody who gave us clothes, gave us education, and brought us to where we are. Yeah. And really speaking, how much was our contribution to all of this? Even before we were born, think of this body getting created in the mother's womb. Did we have anything to do with that? Did we create our own eyes and ears and legs? And no, that got created, right? Did we give ourselves, helped ourselves out? No. There were some forces that helped us out, suctioned our mouth, gave us a blanket sort of thing to keep us warm, fed us milk, and so on and so forth, right? Cleaned us up. So these forces have helped us till this date. Why do we feel that these forces will not help us tomorrow? And if these forces have helped us, they'll also help everyone around us. And these forces have already helped others so far anyways, without any assistance from us. Truly speaking, we think that we are cooking for the other person, we're doing all this, but really, are we really the cause of that other person's life? No. You think about it, not just this from person point of view, our lives, but in the universe in general. What do we have control over anyways? What do we do anyways is what I'm trying to get at. Yeah. Do we get the sun to rise in the morning? Do we do something so that the sun goes back down at the end of the day? Did we create the trees? We may have planted the trees in our backyard, but we never created this whole nature. We never created water. We never created land. We never created air. We fight over it, but we did. And you think we cannot live a moment without all of these 5 elements of nature. And these have sustained us without any contribution from us. So if these have helped us so far, why do we feel that these will not help us tomorrow? And why do we feel that these won't help our loved ones? Why do we fear that when we are gone, that our loved ones will not be taken care of?
Another thing is also that sometimes we become dependent on them and we make them dependent on us.
But that's a whole different thing. Yes,
Right.
exactly. But thank you for, yes. So we create that dependence. And so say, for example, if And I'd shared this story earlier too, when back in India, I was trying to resuscitate a young man, and I think they had gotten married, the man and the woman had gotten married very recently, and the man, very young, maybe in his early 40s, had a massive heart attack, and he was brought in. I was resuscitating, and the wife was seeing from the glass door what was happening inside. We couldn't save this guy. I come out, and as I'm coming, she fell at my feet. She really caught hold of my legs, said, "Bring my husband back to life. Bring my husband back to life." I said, "No, we can't. He's gone." And so, no. And then she kept trying and said, "What will happen to me?" So, see this dependency. What will happen to me? In a way, there's dependency, but also there is a lot of selfishness. In a way, I don't want to belittle this whole experience, this whole scene, but at the same time, in a way, for us, it's almost like, I don't care what happens to that person. What will happen to me when that person is no more? So wise will feel, who will take care of all the outside things, the finances, clear up the snow in the driveway, when the car needs to be serviced, who will take care of that when the husband goes away? The husband will think, who will iron the clothes, cook the food for me, and so on and so forth. Yeah, so there is this dependency that we get stuck in as a cause of attachment. So if we can go into this understanding that we, each of us, each soul is independent, has come in, will go on its own, then will also help us become more and more independent. We will learn to do what we need to do. Everybody should be capable of cooking his own food, to be able to iron his own clothes, to be able to take your own car for servicing, to be able to shovel snow. Of course, we're living in a very interdependent society, and interdependence is great. But however, one-way dependence is not good. Dependence leads to attachment. Attachment leads to pain and suffering, and therefore fear. Yeah, makes sense?
And also, when we become more and more independent, we also get connected to God as well, because we feel helpless, right? We are not able to do in the absence of that person. So we take support from God.
Yes.
So that is another area in itself.
Yes, so that's great. So if that person is no longer, so in other words, if you look at all the other people we have talked to, have had the chance to talk to many people who have lost their very close family members, and especially even for my own mom. See, for example, I could never really develop that close a connection with my mom because of my dad, because my dad was a very strong personality, almost very dominant, and could never really become close to my mom. But then as soon as my dad died, that gave us an opportunity to become very close. And the last 2 years of my mom's life, we were very, very close to each other. So everything happens for a purpose. Yeah, and if you are alone, say for example, if your loved ones have gone and you are alone, then that gives us an opportunity to connect to the universe, connect to God, connect to divine. Yeah, so everything happens for a good, everything happens for a reason. There's a purpose behind it. There's actually a higher purpose behind it. Yeah. So if you go back into the ancient scriptures, Gita talks about the fact that jo hua acha hua, jo hoga wo acha hoga. So that means whatever happened in the past was great, whatever is happening in this moment is great, and whatever will happen in the future is even more great. Yes, so we don't have to worry. So I know this.
Lashonda has asked something. I always hear that life is a blessing. Why is death not looked at the same way? We can plan for a new life, but why not plan for death? So this is why we are doing the session, so that we can prepare ourselves for that moment. This is preparation. How we can prepare. We are learning the art of dying. Correct. In a way.
So what we can end with that, that the art of dying comes with the art of living. Yeah, you cannot die well if you have not lived well, right? So this whole time now, we have to figure out how we live in the most meaningful way, most effective way, so that we die meaningfully too, that we bring meaning to our own death. That is, in other words, we can master dying. Yeah.
And I was thinking that maybe whatever we spoke today, we can summarize everything in just 5 letters. That is the letter death, DEATH.
Okay.
Yeah, so the first one is D for detachment,
Okay.
learning how to detach, and
Yeah.
E for embracing,
Yeah.
that we talked about, that we need to embrace.
Yeah.
And then
I
E
like
for,
how you do this acronyms, but E, embracing or empowered, connecting
embracing
with God, and empowerment because of connection with God, but also connecting to the truth, understanding the truth that empowers us.
Yeah. And A for acceptance.
Acceptance.
Accept that this is the truth. This is
Yes.
the reality, that whatever is there today is going to perish. Right? And T for trust the process. You need to trust.
Yes, thank you.
You need to trust that, yes, whatever is going to happen, whatever has happened is good. Whatever is going to happen is even best. Whatever is happening is also good. So trust the process. And H for understanding that death is a healing process.
Yeah. So in the future sessions, we will talk about how it is healing process. How can we make it into a very healing process? Yeah, and because we have now understood a lot from near-death experiences, we have known a lot from end-of-life experiences, and there are a lot of people who have the ability to, clairvoyance and, the psychic people who are able to communicate with the spirits, and we know afterlife things too quite a bit now. So we can understand that in the next session, how death can be truly healing. But also we need to talk about this at some point in one of these sessions on the compassion that we need to have, and or what we need to do to help somebody else transition too.
Yeah.
One is, of course, talking about our own transition, understanding the whole process, to be able to see it as a blessing, like LaShonda is saying, to be able to embrace it in that way, welcome it in that way, but also to be able to help others through their transition. Because so many times we see this kind of situation happening. Every family has somebody or the other who is in old age with a debilitating disease, who is about to transition, and how can we help them? And I feel truthfully that if I have really understood death and I have figured out the how to not have any fear of death, then I can actually help others work through their fear of death. I've seen that at work too. When these patients come with big diagnosis, they're going to get this big surgery, heart surgeries, because I specialize in those, anesthesia for heart surgeries. And these people would come in with so much fear. I don't know whether I'll survive this or not. But then what happens is I talk to them, and somehow I've seen that because I don't have fear of death, it gets transmitted through my conversation with them, and they also start to feel better about the whole process. Yeah, because death is very possible. You go into surgery, you might never come back. Yeah.
In the beginning, I remember when I went to the hospital, I used to go to the hospital back in India. There, one person died. And then I was so fearful at that moment, because that was the first time I experienced somebody dying in front of me.
Yeah.
And that fear was really, I still remember, I started crying in front of the patient. And then after that, I felt so bad that instead of helping the family members of the patient, I myself started to cry, because I was in the training process at that time, and I was not at all used to seeing patients dying.
Yeah.
So it's very important for the physician, especially.
For all of us. You think of it, in a way, when you are crying, that is negative energy in itself. So when you are in negative energy, how can you give positive energy to that soul? That soul is in negative energy, right? He is in pain because his family member has just died. How can we serve that soul if we are ourselves creating pain because of that process.
Yeah, that is so true.
So,
And that was actually before I started my meditation practice.
Right.
And then later on, I realized that how this meditation has helped me develop that strength, the ability to really not only just be strong enough to see the patient dying in front of me, but also to be able to help the patient and help the family members, really deal with those things, sort of.
Yeah, to be able to serve in that capacity. All right, so many different things we talked about, and there are many more things we will do eventually. And Sister Tanya is saying, name of the movie clip you played, it's called as Admissions by John Viscount. Yeah, I want to give him credit. What a beautiful movie in itself. Yeah. So in that, if you remember this statement, I want to end with that you can't hope hell for others without being in hell yourself. Or so in other words, when you create love for yourself, then that love creates the right energy to take care of the fear for yourself, for your own mortality, if you will, and to be able to serve others through their mortality too. Yeah.
Love, peace, and forgiveness.
And compassion.
They're very powerful. These are actually healing energies.
Yeah. All right. So far, so good. Any questions? Any other thoughts? Yes.
Hello? Yeah, good. So we had a couple of questions. First one is, what's the guarantee, I mean, talking as a Hindu person, that I'll be born as a human being in my next life? And the next one is, you mentioned samadhi as a form of death, but we sort of heard it in a different way. I guess Ramakrishna sometimes went into samadhi, then he would come back. So can you clarify these 2 points, please?
Yeah, wonderful. So yes, the first question, many people do have this. That's why I had put this, the fear of afterlife, whether I'll be born as an animal, as an insect, or I'm going to be born as a human being. So important thing to understand that the human soul will only be born as a human.
Right.
Just like, so look at the soul as a seed. So just like a mango seed will only give a mango tree, an apple seed will give an apple tree. Similarly, the human soul, human seed will only give a human life. So we as humans will only be born as humans. Dogs will only be reborn as dogs. Cats will only be born as cats, and so on and so forth.
Human being should
Yeah. Now, why in scriptures or why in several cultures of faiths there is this conversation that human beings could live in another lifetime as a different creature, is because of 2 reasons. In those days, just to help people, or even now, just to help people understand the importance of this lifetime, they would say, oh, after so many births as an insect and animal, you've gotten this life, and future you don't know what you're going to be. So use this life in the best possible way.
And also to prevent them from not doing bad actions.
Bad actions, yes. So if you do bad things, tomorrow you're going to be born as an insect, or something like that. But really speaking, it's not like that. It's our consciousness that changes. So for example, say somebody's life is like a life of a dog. What does that mean? Yeah, you could be a human being, but your life could be like a dog. Or like sheep. Yeah, or livestock in general. Or so you could be a human being and you could behave like a snake. Right? Is the consciousness. You're not a snake. Yeah, you're not a snake, but you can behave like a snake. Yeah, underhand things and all that, Or you could be like a dog, barking like a dog at everybody else. Or you could be like livestock stuck in a pen, stuck in those barns. So we live as human beings, we die as human beings, and we are reborn as human beings. based on our actions, the situation around us can vary to be human or non-human like. Yeah, say if somebody is born in the next birth and with, so basically what happens, just to bring some perspective to this, is when the soul leaves the body and goes to the next, it takes the experiences of this lifetime to the next, and these experiences would mean that whatever actions that soul has performed, so if the soul has performed negative actions, it takes these negative experiences of those actions as a package and goes to the next birth. So it's very possible that right from childhood, the person will get into wrong things like stealing, drugs, and so on and so forth, and will maybe end up being behind the bars for quite a bit of time. Being behind the bars is what?
Like a lion or like a tiger inside the jail.
Yeah. Or like livestock even. Yeah, makes sense? All right. So that fear should go away for everyone. You would be born as a human being, period.
Yeah, we're assured.
You're assured.
Assured. Okay. Yes, Itala has a question. 1 second. All right. And the second thing about samadhi, honestly, I wasn't going into that much because I myself don't understand samadhi very well. All right. So as I get more information about it, maybe in the future sessions, I will be able to talk more. But basically what it means is that whatever I have heard is there are certain people who have lived life so fully, so meaningfully, so much being present in the moment. See, right now too, when I'm saying what I'm saying, it is very possible that many of you are elsewhere in your mind. You could be physically sitting, you could be physically listening, but your mind could be somewhere else, may or may not be present. So that's why each moment doesn't give us the most fulfilling experience that it should give. But if some people are able to do it, to stay completely in the present moment, they're able to accomplish everything that they needed to accomplish. Not in the material terms, in the West, like cars and houses and this and that, but they are able to accomplish what they needed to accomplish. And so at the end, they feel that, yes, this is the time for me to go.
So in other words, they're contented. They're very contented, and then they have that control that yes,
correct,
that they can leave their bodies very easily without any pain or without
correct,
anything.
Voluntarily. Yeah, not like society. Yeah, but honestly, as I said, there's more to understand about it. Yeah. All right. Yes, Itala.
Reborn in another life, we do not remember the previous lives and what happened and what people were part of our lives and what kinds of things we did. It's like a completely blocked.
So it is good, in a way. Think about.
I would like to know.
Well, yes and no. See, this is a good thing. In a way, it creates this amnesia. This transition creates this amnesia, like we were listening to in that video too. If you, at this point, think of it, if you remember your previous birth people, who you were married to and so on and so forth. Say that person is still alive. Think of it for a moment. So maybe you were a male in the previous birth, all right? And you had a wife and you died, and then the wife got married to someone else. Now you are reborn now, and you say, you remember, oh, I was married to that person. And then you go there, run after that person. Then you will disrupt their lives. You'll disrupt this life. Make sense?
Yeah.
So this whole thing has been built with the reason that we live in the moment. We do the best we can in this moment rather than run to the past or run to the future.
But we participate in exactly what we want to accomplish in this life. If we want a life of service, for example, or what kind of a life we want, we are part of that. Before we take another body, we discuss what happened in previous lives, what happened in our very last life that we just transitioned, and what is it that we want to accomplish in the following life.
Yes, so we can. So, see, some of us still live in a fool's paradise. Yeah, like we talked about in the beginning, that as if death will never happen or death will happen in a magical way. And some of us are ready to take on this subject and see what they can do to make this lifetime so beautiful that death happens in the most meaningful way. Yeah, and in not just meaningful way, that they can accomplish everything here and create the substrate for the future births.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to do right now.
Okay.
You see?
I like
Rather
that.
than death happening as a surprise, we want to be able to control it in a way that it happens in a very beautiful way. And our afterlife becomes beautiful too. You see, and few more things. See, when we do a lot of negative actions in this lifetime, yeah, we have done a lot of bad things to other people, hurt people in various ways. We create this black kind of negative energy. And people have said that in the transitioning period, yeah, somewhere, yeah, either in the next lifetime or in the transitioning period, the soul goes through pain and suffering. You see, not pain and suffering the way we think about it, but because the soul does not get the help. We'll talk about it in the subsequent sessions, but the soul doesn't get the help from God or from the soul's guardian angels who can come to help the soul because of that negative energy that shrouds the soul.
Right.
Yeah, so if we want to get help from God, if we want to get help from our guardian angels, and we want to have a beautiful next life, we got to fix what we are doing right now. Live our lives so fully, so completely, so much in the present moment, and create love and positive energy around us.
Mhm.
Makes sense? So for those of you we won't see again, I hope we see all of you again next Sunday for more conversations on this. But if you don't, then at least you go with this understanding. All right? Any other comments? Any other thoughts? No?
Thank you. I'm Chanti.
Shanti. All right, so let's do a little bit of meditation together. Take a deep breath, relax. First of all, remind yourself that you are a soul, a human soul. And as a human soul, you'll only take a human life. Now, instead of seeing your life from birth to death, feel as if you're stepping back. Yeah, there is one lifetime here, birth, death. Then there's next lifetime there. You're able to see not just this lifetime, but many lifetimes as you continue to step back further and further. And suddenly you begin to realize that death is what brings true meaning to life. Each lifetime is like a sentence, and death as a period. And you go from one lifetime to the next, to the next, to the next. And even without your knowledge, all through these lifetimes, you were being served by the divine, by God, by the forces of the universe. In each lifetime, you were connected to different souls who had their own journeys and will continue to have their own journeys. Each soul has and will continue to be served by the same forces of the universe that have served you. In each of these lifetimes, you had a spouse, you had children, you had parents, you had friends and other family members. Even though you transition to the next lifetime, they continue to live as well. So right now in this lifetime, all the people you know of who are connected to you, your loved ones, will continue to live, will continue on with their own journeys, whether you are there or not. The same forces will serve them as well. Om Shanti. Anyways, all right. It was a pleasure to be with all of you. If you enjoyed it, we will love to have you again in the next session, the next part of the same series next Sunday. All right. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Shanti, thank you.
And I see there was one thing that Vicky had said, like we discussed the other day, it is also a responsibility to enable, actually she has written two things. She has written, fear ends when you locate the soul conscious space that is without fear, and such places inside everyone. Meditation and connection to God takes you to the place that you want to reach. A deep sense of self-realization of truth that is untouched by fear. Second, like we discussed the other day, it is also our responsibility to enable those we leave behind to be prepared to continue without us. We have to enable them to be all that they are meant to be. It is wrong to disable them with our attachment. It is selfish on our part. Beautiful things, Vicky. We will talk about these more in the subsequent sessions. All right. Om Shanti. Thank you, Brother
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Swati, for also taking care of the technical aspects of today's session. Okay.
Thank you so much. It was very enlightening, very, very nice. Truly enjoyed.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. I look forward.
Om Shanti.
कल रात का मिस कर